Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how to make a giant black background for a photo shoot. Okay, so we're in the studio. This is meant to be for inside photos, obviously. Whenever I'm inside, like it's going to rain this week and we're doing baseball pictures, so we're going to have to do them in an indoor facility. Luckily there's turf, but there's a lot of distracting elements in the background, and sometimes they can look cool, like the lights. Sometimes the walls can look cool, it just kind of depends. But there are lots of situations where that doesn't work and you need to bring a backdrop. So you can bring printed backdrops. A lot of times those aren't very big. Extra Pros are great. Those are great for portraits, but if you're doing like any kind of media day or team pictures that you're going to do action shots or any kind of group pictures, then you need a bigger background than that, obviously. And it's also cool to put 2 or 3 Extra Pros next to each other. But the problem with that is they're great, but they're only 8 foot tall, which is not quite tall enough for taller athletes, obviously, when you shoot any kind of wide angle shot, because that background's going to shrink because of the distortion. So that's what the video today is about, is how to make a pretty big black backdrop to eliminate that as much as possible, not only height, but also width. So the way that I used to do it, I've been doing this for a couple years, is I have 2 9x20 Westcott cloth backgrounds, which we'll link all this stuff below in the description. I used to use just regular kind of generic background stands, and we would put the crossbars, the 4 crossbars across the top together, or 4 or 5, and then I would use a super clamp to set the crossbar in the middle stand. The problem was that there was no overlap, and you could see the bar in the middle. So we would always have to overlap them and clamp them all the way across. We couldn't use that pocket on the top with the grommets to just slide over the poles. We had to clamp all of it, which was kind of a pain. And then it just didn't ever line up right, and it also made it more narrow than was really ideal. The height, these are 12-foot C stands. You can get taller ones, but the height wasn't the issue as much as the width was. So, because like I said, any kind of group picture, if somebody's extending or anything like that, like going wide with like having their arms out, then when you go wide, they can get off the edge very quickly. And also, I do a lot of shutter drags inside too. So that's hard to recreate in Photoshop if the drag is off of the background, because you're going to see stuff going on over the light drag. And so that's a problem. So I saw one of Rocktown Media's behind the scenes, and I messaged him and asked him what he was using, because he was doing the same thing I was doing. I could tell he had 2 Westcott backdrops beside each other, but his were just hanging down. So he was nice enough to share with me that he used these impact crossbars. I didn't even know they made these. So this, I would have known, or I would have saved a lot of time, and it would have made my life a lot easier if I had known this a couple years ago. But there's 2 different kinds. There's 9 foot and 13 foot. So I have 2 of the 9 foot. So when you put them together, obviously that's 18 feet, which is exactly as wide as the backgrounds are. So we're going to show you how to put that together. It's pretty easy. And then you're going to have a huge black background you can use fog, shutter drags, gels, whatever you want to use inside, to have a solid black background with no contamination or anything like that. I've shot in basketball gyms before and made the mistake of, like for volleyball pictures or basketball, trying to underexpose and not getting it quite dark enough. And then when I get it in post, you can see like the basket behind them a little bit when I couldn't see it in camera. So this eliminates all those issues. You don't have to worry about any of that. And like I said, you can go bigger too, because you can get taller light stands if you want. 12 foot's pretty good. If you went up to like 13 or 15 feet, that would obviously be better. So, but we're going to use what we have here. So basically, I just have a tilter bracket here and a super clamp that we're going to attach to that middle stand. And then what we're going to do is we put that pin in the top, so the one background can come over and overlap the other one, so that there's no gap in the middle. They're just going to hang all the way to the ground. There's no clamps involved. We're going to use the pockets on the top, like I said, to slide over the bars. And it's a pretty simple setup, way easier than we used to do. So now we're going to set it up, see how long it takes. Okay, so we got the background all the way up, and I am on my tippy toes right now. we got the background all the way up and we realized, but because this background doesn't go flush to the edge because we're using this pocket to put over the pole, that we do need to clamp the inside with an A-clamp up and down to this center pole, just this side, so that they will hang over each other. Now, if we had a longer arm here in the middle, this would extend more, but then you lose width too. So this isn't a big deal. We're just gonna probably use 4 or 5 of these and just clamp starting up here all the way down, just get it barely on the pole as little as possible so it doesn't stretch. And then that should allow this to hang over that side. So we're gonna resume the time lapse now. Okay, all right, so you can do this 2 ways. We would tape this probably on a surface like this with concrete. That's gonna be slippery. So I would probably put like a rug stopper underneath it if you're gonna use that on a slick surface. If you're on turf, it doesn't matter. But if you're on turf, I wouldn't use that. I would just roll it up, and then you gotta have a nice clean line though. You don't want it to be messy when it hangs down. Because I remember the first time I did it, I didn't think it would show. It shows. So you want everything to be as perfect as possible. There's a little bit of a seam there, but you could probably tape it or clamp it more if you wanted to. You're gonna see where it's holding, where the fabric's being held by the clamps. Letting it hang down like that's probably just fine because the subject's gonna be off the background. You're not lighting the background, so it should be okay. So, but anyway, you can see how big that is. That's plenty of room. You could obviously get off of it if they're pulled way out, but if you keep them around, this area, then you're probably going to be fine. You could put lights on the edges there, edge lights. You can put, if you had light stands tall enough, you could probably put them up top and hang them over, but that's pretty high. You got to have bigger light stands. But there's still room here to come out like this and put the edge lights on the very edges there of the background. So we've got, it was all the way to the edge. Those crossbars are a little bit longer than 9 feet. So, but that's right a little bit shorter than 18 feet across. And then, like I said, those are 12-foot stands, but you can see we have plenty of room here, so you can go higher if you have bigger stands. So, all right, so now we're gonna do a shoot on this with my son's new baseball bags. It's almost baseball season. So we got him a Louisville Slugger Meta Prime, and I'm gonna do some pictures with it because it's brand new and shiny, and we're gonna use some fog, use the Smoke Genie, and some gels, and maybe the dry ice, I don't know. So we're gonna just try to get creative with it. And if you want to see behind the scenes for that shoot, then you can see that on Patreon with the $15 subscription. And then we're also gonna put the camera settings up and light settings and all that, and then the diagrams on the $5 Patreon subscription and $5 Instagram subscription. So make sure and check those out. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I feel like this is a very practical and useful video for anybody that does sports photography or anybody that just needs a black background inside. Anything that you are afraid you might go off of, extra up pros, like I said, are great, but the only problem is they can be a little bit small in certain situations. So if you did get something out of it, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. That helps support the channel, helps it keep going. I do have an Amazon and Westcott affiliate links down there. That does as well. I don't make a ton of money off these. I love making them. I really enjoy it, and I want to keep doing it. So anytime you use those, I do get a portion of that. So that's much appreciated also anytime I put links down there, because that's kind of what helps pay for this also. So make sure you also go to matthernandezcreative.com, sign up for the newsletter so you get notified when we do post new videos or any kind of content and announce workshops. We'll see you next time.